So morning, welcome all. It's great to see a couple of new faces this morning. So welcome to Laura and Frank. So Laura from Chicago and Frank from Edinburgh, I believe. Is it Edinburgh?
Oh my goodness, stop swearing. I'm from Glasgow.
Are you from
minutes
I
away
do
from
apologize. I do apologize.
There is a rivalry.
Somewhere up there in the north of the UK. But
Exactly.
Yeah, and then we've got Leo from down south in South Africa and Ed from somewhere in the middle of the UK and Trevor and myself in the middle of South Africa.
In the very west, in the very south of the UK. You couldn't get further south than where I am.
So my geography is terrible. I do apologize, but we're not talking geography, fortunately, this morning, because I would obviously get it all wrong. But we're talking virtual hand grenades this morning, which is an interesting topic, I think, and it was actually quite timely, I suppose. I got an article across my desk this morning, and it's a South African article, and it's entitled "Hlophe Bongo's Ruling: A Hand Grenade Tossed into South Africa's Political Chaos." And it goes on to say, many will say that a ruling by a judge facing not one but two inquiries at the Judicial Service Commission cannot be trusted. Others will use it to declare that the principle of innocent until proven guilty is violated should the ANC suspend its members accused of crimes. On Friday, the Western Cape Judge President John Hlophe ruled that the prosecution in the case of former State Security Minister Bongani Bongo did not have a case against him in the allegation that he had attempted to bribe a senior official to stop Parliament's Eskom inquiry. The ruling lands like a grenade in a set of dynamics involving the excruciating debate over the ANC's step-aside resolution and the recent attacks on the judiciary, and more importantly, the National Executive Committee's position on the corruption case against ANC Secretary General Ace Magashule. So I thought that was quite interesting, seeing that we were chatting about tossing virtual hand grenades into discussions to see the kind of reactions that one could get, and there you go. Somebody must have been listening, because that article, as I say, popped onto my news feed this morning. So we're going to chat a bit about that, and I think seeing that Ed introduced the topic, and such a mild-mannered fellow from the UK tossing hand grenades around sounded a bit violent. So Ed, maybe you want to take us a bit further down that road, and then see where we can go. We also mentioned that it might have something to do with technological disruption and revolution. So all interesting topics.
Yeah, I'm a great believer in hand grenades. I think in business, when people get comfortable, I get very uncomfortable. And I think unless you're actually changing, you're drifting. And when you're drifting, you're heading towards the rocks. So when things sort of get a bit sort of non-changey, if that's a word, I lob a hand grenade in. And I think my last employed position, I lobbed one too many hand grenades because I lost my job. Interesting enough, about 2 years later, the organization ceased to exist because of exactly the problem I was trying to avoid. Fortunate, and it closed down and everyone lost their jobs. Fortunately, it survived long enough for them to settle my case and pay me a nice lump sum. So I'm still going to throw in hand grenades. And I thought more recently about our supermarkets in the UK. They're dominated by a few brands, and they've got really comfortable because they've got everything sorted out. They had a dominant position. They'd stopped expanding because they found it difficult to build new big stores, and they couldn't get planning permission. They were just tinkering at the edges. They started doing a bit of internet selling and home delivery. They opened up some small convenience stores on the high street, but that's about it. And then along came this little hand grenade in the shape of the Germans. We have a problem with the Germans at times. And they came along with two medium-sized type supermarket stores that were discounters, Aldi and Lidl. And they started taking market share away from the big guys. And they were doing success very, very well. And the big guys didn't really have any answers because they couldn't operate those medium-sized stores because it wasn't in their plans. And they'd actually bought loads of land up for big stores and then just sat on it. And then all of a sudden, a huge bomb came in. Not a hand grenade, a great big bomb. It was called the pandemic. And the number of customers you could get in a store was restricted by the social distancing. And people didn't want to go to stores. And the big guys ramped up their home deliveries. But the two new guys, Aldi and Lidl, don't have a home delivery service. They didn't have an internet, particularly good internet presence, and they lost market share quite quickly. And I think they didn't really understand that this pandemic thing was going to last, so they didn't try and get an internet presence quickly. They've only just now got a click and collect service where you order online and go and collect it, and they wheel it out to the car park for you. So I think, you know, if you're not sending hand grenades in, then you're missing out on things. Interesting enough, actually, it's now been 9 months since I've been to a shop because I get all my stuff online. But interesting enough, small businesses have adapted very quickly. And I've now managed to get almost all my stuff from small businesses. I do a supermarket online shop once about every 6 weeks, and I'm struggling to make the minimum order, which is why I've got Armageddon busting stocks of toilet rolls, washing up liquid and shower gel. So I think it's quite interesting the way different organizations have reacted differently to the same problem. So yeah, keep throwing hand grenades in, and then you can just grab hold of the good bits that are left and make a new business out of it. That's my sort of contribution.
Great, thanks, Ed. Yeah, so I'm going to go across to Laura, one of our new visitors this morning. And so Laura, you've got a basic idea of sort of what you do. We just chat around the topic and see what insights people might have and thoughts along that topic. So yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts and maybe a little bit more about you as well. You know,
Sure.
What you do.
Well, I wasn't quite clear. I didn't completely hear, and since I did not enter the group with a firm understanding of the premise and the outline and the structure. My understanding about what was read, and I didn't fully hear it. Something happened in your geographical area that, I don't know if it was an analogy or a metaphor, an analogy regarding hand grenades. And is that a metaphor?
Yes. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so basically, we're just talking about you know, being disruptive in certain situations and the reactions that one might get from that disruption, and whether it's positive or negative, and you know, specifically from a business perspective. But
well, I got a doozy for you.
Could also be in a personal environment where, you know, you just feel things need to be shaken up a bit, and so yeah, that's what we do. We just as I say, we just chat about topics in this forum, and it's just great to hear different perspectives and ideas around those topics.
So it's good to know it's a metaphor, because I didn't know. Well, I just had well, not me personally. My country just experienced a huge shakeup January 6th regarding what happened in our capital. I didn't even know about it actually until like the day later, because I don't watch TV at all except for TED Talks. And so that pretty much shook my world to the extent that I couldn't believe that our citizens would be capable of that, especially in a location which is espoused to maintain maintain and enforce the integrity of what this country was founded on. Regarding the pandemic, I'm in an industry as a coach and a licensed counselor that my industry has just boomed because so many individuals are at home now. And considering that, not just, we're thinking of it on different levels. On a macro level, I think globally, all of our countries are now inextricably connected. So from my perspective, we cannot survive independently anymore. We are connected regardless, the human experience from a macro level. From an individual independent systemic level, at a cultural level, that as individual nations, there's more cohesiveness. And because of that, we're forced to come together, and we also have different ideas. Note taken January 6th. Moving into our community and different organizations within a community, they're shut down. Businesses are affected. We don't have access to certain supplies. Certain organizations, I should say, professionals who we would need for services, for example, hospitals, doctors, dentists, lawyers, teachers, we don't have access to that. So shaking things up, how do we function? Nobody knows how to live like this. I mean, it's something that, at least in my lifetime, I've never experienced this before. So at a more on a micro level, there's something called the shadow pandemic. And with individuals who are forced to stay in the home, not forced, or are required to only on the basis of could get arrested or there's nowhere to go, domestic violence increases. Children are home. Parents don't know what to do. They're not teachers. How do I do this? Teachers don't access the students. Students don't know what to do. They don't want to be home with their parents all day. Parents don't even know how to even function with being out of work. That's a stressor. Being around your significant other and or a single parent, then they got to be at home. They can't work, staying home with the kid. It's the stress alone. And the shadow pandemic is what's going on behind closed doors that nobody sees. So it hits every single person at whatever level. And then we move down even to within the micro level, within oneself. And for example, my industry is just taking off. And I don't necessarily mean that in a good way. The beautiful thing about it is that people do have access to services when they need it regarding mental health. And my business is mental health. How do we maintain our sage-like qualities, our capabilities, and call upon our sage powers when saboteurs are coming at just at so many different levels in so many different ways? And so to get back to that sense of normalcy, I don't think there will be a new normal. I don't think it will ever go back. And that's the thing about being connected. For example, I'm in Illinois, in Chicago, United States. We're all around the world. We are now connected. Because of COVID, we're actually sitting here right now, interlaced. You met somebody last week because I met her from a PhD in SmartBright. This is the function. We will never be the same. So it's whether you believe it to be good or bad, either way, you're right.
No, that's absolutely. Thanks, Laura. Yeah, I agree. I think things have fundamentally changed in the world, and we've certainly seen that since lockdown started here in our country at the end of March last year. I mean, this connectedness, as you said, I mean, it's just made a dramatic change in the way we operate, the way we've been connected, and are getting more and more connected around the world to different people. And I mean, this group is just a tiny little testimony of that. Boom, absolutely, yeah, huge. And I think the people that are hankering to go back to the way things were are going to be disappointed because it ain't going to happen. So yeah, that's great. So great, well, so glad you joined us, and thanks for the comments. And yeah, stick around. We'll hear the others. So Leo, over to you down in Cape Town, there in the southern point of Africa.
Yeah, so my thoughts weren't really around hand grenades, metaphorically speaking. And I'm a big fan of Elon Musk, which everybody now knows. And if he hasn't done disruptive stuff, it's the challenge, of course, with disruptive stuff is that it's very uncomfortable for most people. And even my journey forward now, when the people around me, I mean, they are uncomfortable with me moving forward because effectively that's disrupting that little space of comfort, you know. Don't go into the cave, Dad, you know, type of thing, you know. And yet, as I was reflecting this morning, you know, it's the pioneers, it's the people who are disruptive, it's the people who enter the cave to see what's on the other side that actually make the differences in the world. You know, they're the ones that that discover new things, they discover new paths, that discover that you can land rockets, you know, that discover that, hey, you know, the electric car doesn't have to be a golf cart, you know, and you know, and so I think that the hard part for the disruptor, so the hard part for me is I'm saying I need to find a whole new circle of friends that won't give me a hard time just because I'm entering into a new field. And that's quite hard because, you know, one has surrounded oneself around with friends 20, 30, 40 years. Sadly so, when I think about some of the results I'm getting. But yes, so I think well done to the disruptors, because, you know, we need to be pioneering and looking for ways through the cave, finding new paths. You know, one day, you know, the landing of the rocket is going to be so normal that people will need to disrupt that, you know. So so yeah, that's my little contribution.
Thanks. Yeah, you caught me napping there when you finished so quickly. But thanks for that. Yeah, and that's what it's all about. You know, whether you're being disrupted with metaphorical hand grenades or whether you're being disrupted by looking to change, it's you know, the principles I think remain pretty much the same. So Frank, let's get across to you there in Glasgow. Get it right this time. And I know you've been in business for a while, so I'm sure you've had a few disruptions in your career and your life.
Yeah. Thank you. I've been to one wisdom chat before, and so I expected some kind of topic, although I didn't know what the topic was. So I've just been thinking about a few notes as other people have been chatting. To me, chaos or a bombshell or a metaphorical hand grenade can mean lots of different things. I think the biggest hand grenade that we've all been thrown is the pandemic recently, but I'm not going to think about that at the moment. I'm going to think more practical hand grenades or one that I've been through especially. I think when you get something, I think we should expect hand grenades to be thrown at us through life. I think people who go through life thinking that nothing's going to ever happen that is quite dramatic in their life are either very lucky or very ill-informed. I'm not too sure which. Some people may go through life in a charmed way where there's nothing happens to them, but for the majority of us, chaos can happen in the blink of an eye. Chaos can happen if one day you're having a shower totally healthy and you find something on your body that you shouldn't. Hasn't happened to me, I'm glad to say, at the moment, but it can. And in that split second, the bombshell just drops on you. Your life has changed forever. So I think we should expect chaos in our lives. Now, I think in the immediate aftermath of chaos, we don't do anything. If I'm hit by something, I try not to immediately react in a positive or negative way. I just have to sit and think about it. But I think what can come out of chaos or bombshell or hand grenade is something fantastic, because as Ed said, it brings change. It should bring change. If you sit back and just ignore it, then nothing's going to happen. You're going to just fade away. So I think chaos can bring change. So the one that I can think of just in the last few minutes, one of the biggest ones in a professional career. I'm an optician to trade. I haven't been an optician since 1995, but in that time, Before that, I had 11 optical practices. I owned 11 optical practices. So we were a reasonable sized company. We were the largest independent opticians in Scotland. So we were a reasonable sized company with over 100 staff. And we were hit a bombshell by the government in 1980 something, can't remember when, 87, something like that, when everybody in the UK got their eyes tested totally free on the National Health Service. But suddenly the government decided that everybody had to pay for their eye check. And apart from, you know, children and elderly and people who needed eye tests for health reasons. And that threw chaos into the optical industry, because we were all sitting there with our nice big cars, nice big houses, because being an optician in those days especially was a really good profession to be in. And the chaos was that suddenly our business was going to dip 100%. It was just people were going to stop getting eye tests. And so, as I said, the last thing you want to do is take a reaction to that bombshell. And many opticians chose to charge for eye tests, and the business reduced. But one or two of us, including our company, including me, decided to carry on giving eye tests completely free in the hope that people would buy glasses. More people would come to us for the free eye test, and anybody who needed glasses, more people would buy, so we would survive.
Not sure if I've been, it looks like I've lost everybody.
My friends who worked for our competitors unfortunately lost their jobs. Total chaos again. So I think that personal, you know, for divorces, things like that, then I think that you can step back and you can make it a positive experience. You can make it so that when you move forward through the chaos, there's light at the end of the tunnel. The worst thing about chaos is that people can't see the wood for the trees. They can't see through the chaos out to the other end. They can just see what's immediately there. And that's why, and I'm going in slightly different topics all the time, but that's why so many people unfortunately commit suicide, because they can't see through the chaos in their life, whatever that might be, to the other end. And I think as human beings, one of our biggest jobs is to help people through chaos. You know, whether they're friends, whether they're not, you know, whatever it is, then one of our biggest jobs in life is to help people through chaos, to see out the other side. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Frank. Yeah, I think absolutely. I see Laura's getting quite animated during that, and nothing wrong with that at all. So obviously some stuff that resonates there with you, Laura. You muted, can't hear you.
I do that on purpose because I talk to the camera. I get excommunicated because people don't look at the camera. People either love this, they can't deal with it, or they're like, bring it on. So I mute myself on purpose, and sometimes I'll cancel my face out. You don't like it? No. It's called the chat for a reason. It's called the chat for a reason.
Yeah, we love it. We love it.
Happened today.
We love it. Keep it going. So we won't excommunicate you, I promise. we love people who get engaged and involved. So Trevor.
Yeah, we still kept Trevor here. So
yeah, we've kept.
And he's very quiet today for some reason. Are you okay, Trevor?
I'm so happy Laura is on board. Laura, I've been picked on for 365 days of the COVID-19 blooming pandemic. So welcome on board. And Laura also confirmed for me, that's why I'm sitting here smugly, she confirmed for me my entire life that I've always been right. So whether I think it is or whether I think it isn't, I'm always right, which is the point I've been trying to make to these guys for over 50 years. So let me just try and add something into this. I really believe that we are in the age of disruption, but massive disruption. And that this disruption is shaking people to the soles of their boots, really to the core. And that excites me. I also believe that there are a couple of hand grenades that have been thrown in over the last 20 years. And part of what we're doing here is the internet, number one. When that came along, that actually started democratizing. That's a fancy word that the Diamonduses and all of them utilize, because we'll as well. That became the first bombshell. Then obviously I think the cell phone, but really the smartphone, which really allowed the internet and searching facilities, etc., to become a bombshell, and people got information where they never had information before. The next thing was we had individuals who actually utilized social media. So Trump certainly wasn't the first president to utilize social media. It was Barack Obama who utilized social media. But then you could see how you could twist information in social media. So talk about throwing hand grenades. If this guy Trump didn't throw 1,000 hand grenades every single day, then no one did. Now, why do I like throwing hand grenades? Because most people actually sit on the fence. And if you really want something to happen, you've got to get them off the fence. And the only way to do that is to actually shake them up. And that's why I came up with, if you want to kill a fire, throw in a hand grenade, because it actually suffocates the oxygen and makes people think differently. That's what you got to do. But does anyone appreciate it? No. So if you're an employed accountant and you throw in a hand grenade into a conservative corporate operation, guess what? They're going to lob the hand grenade straight back to you, and you're going to go and sit and twiddle your thumbs for a couple of years while you're actually fighting them to pay you, because they're going to fire you immediately. However, I've been an independent for almost 50 odd years. So I don't give a stuff for anyone. I try and get straight to the point and ask them why they're in it. Don't waste my time. In fact, that's I woke up this morning, turned around and said, I've got to stop being soft with this whole group here. People are stuffing me around in the networking environment. I'm too old for this nonsense. Why are you here? What do you want? What are we wanting to do? Are we just wasting our time? Is there something we want to achieve? Okay, if there's something you want to achieve, tell me what it is, and I can tell you whether I can actually help you or I can't. So that's my little hand grenade into virtual online networking forums. I also want to throw something in here. I see, and you guys, Laura, in the United States, I mean, the conspiracy theories that have come across with this guy, Bill Gates, I think is an absolute blooming, it's ludicrous. Go and have a look at how much work he spends into researching what's going on in the world and how he applies his thinking. If you're doing the same amount of research, I'd love to see you bounce back and throw a hand grenade back at me. But this guy seems to have sat through and thought through where the world is going, where most other guys are not. They've just picked up their flags and spears and tackled the Capitol building. And that's the extent of their blooming research in the marketplace. So I think the hand grenade that we should be throwing out there is Gates turns around and says, the one major breakthrough that's really happened out of COVID-19 is nothing more than what we're doing right now. This Zoom and the contact and the working from home is where we're all going to be. We're going to work less and less in corporate environments, and we're going to be networking between each other like this. Now, if we're going to be doing that, why are we going to be doing that? Because we like other people? There's not one of you I like on this forum at all. The question I want to ask is, why are we doing this? How are we going to be making money out of this? And once we make that money, how are we going to make a difference in the world? That's my hand grenade.
All right, great, thanks. Sure, okay. So you could maybe say that was a bit of an explosive conversation, but that would just be being really, really silly with the puns, but yeah, so thanks everybody. I think great conversations. The question is, what do we talk about tomorrow? So yeah, any thoughts, any ideas you want to toss into the pot? Looking forward to some great topics, maybe to follow up on that one. Ed, I think you spoke about yesterday, and we touched sort of briefly on it, was disruptive technologies. Should we go down that road again, or?
Well, I think disruptive technology is very similar to hand grenades in a way, isn't it? I was quite interested in, I don't know, just thinking about this whole thing about change and the pace of change, because I think it was Lee who said a few times ago about sort of native Australians saying, travel for 3 days, rest for 1. And Frank said, when there's a change, stand back and think for a minute. So I wonder whether we talk around change and whether we should react or whether we should think and react. And then when we've changed, should we have a little bit of a rest for things to bed in? So around that, if that makes sense. Travel for 3 days, rest for 1.
All right, so change. Laura, did you want to add something in on that?
Well, I was just calling up a YouTube video. Here's what I put in there. We were talking about change in relationships, and I'm thinking vulnerability. And I mentioned Brene Brown, that connection. That's where hardwire for connection. And this pandemic, we're literally forced to connect in ways that we never have. And whether that be behind our bedroom doors, our front house doors, our office doors, whatever it is, we are not forced. I mean, we can isolate if you're agoraphobic, for example. And so like right now, I'm totally digging this. And in praise of the vulnerable man, standing up, suiting up, showing up, and sharing up. And I studied at-home dads for my dissertation from a feminist perspective, because I wanted to highlight that there are alternative ways of parenting children. My PhD is in child development and family studies. And from a grassroots perspective, the fact that you guys are talking about this stuff, I really haven't heard too much about emotions. It's there. It's waiting to come out. So that's what I was going to put a little clip. You could look at it later. It's a great song. Play it.
Yeah.
Because I'm highlighting now. I'm in praise of you right now. I really am in praise of you all.
Go for it. If you want to put it up quickly, go for it.
Sure.
No, man, I want to have a word.
Yes, sir.
Now go, Laura, put it up and then I'll have a word or two.
Yes, sir. I don't know, can I share screen?
You should be able to, yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, you've just made Trevor's day by calling him sir, so.
That's how I roll. Oh wait, can you see my screen, or you're seeing y'all?
No,
I can see it.
Are you seeing this, or are you seeing her?
We're seeing the cover, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Laura.
The sound's not.
Won't you just pause it for a second? And I'm just going to ask everybody to switch their videos off, which might help it come through a bit better, because I think we're struggling.
How about I call up the lyrics instead of just the cover?
Oh, let's try it with everybody's videos off and see if that helps in terms of the
moment. Give me a second. Oh, I hate this. Why is this not? I beg your pardon.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, I think just play again. Everybody else has got their videos off. Let's see if it comes through a bit better.
Here we go.
Yeah, sound's still not working great for me. Perhaps we can all listen to it afterwards.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Thank you for letting me know that. Here, stop screen. Stop share. I apologize. Trying to do the right thing.
No, that's not a problem. You never know until you try. So you've always got to try.
Essentially, when you do what you do, you change lives. And can you call your cavalry home?
So finally, a woman who recognizes my value.
I mean, you guys, this is the thing with masculinity. I'm not a man. The stigma associated with a man, if they're crying, if they're vulnerable, and I'm saying I'm hurting. I want to be seen. I want to be heard, and not allowed to. And especially with other men. Even worse, when a woman stigmatizes a man, when the man's trying to show up and share up. It's that one thing within their cohort of other men or friends. It's another thing when their wives or significant others, their mothers, their daughters, their sisters. I think it's sexist. It's stigmatizing. It's discrimination at its core.
I think we're going to have fun here with Laura. That's for certain. And then there are two things that I just want to throw in here, Ivan, just for you to put on the back burner. If we're going to be talking about this as being an absolutely critical element of what we're going to do going forward for the next 20, 30 years, number one, I believe what it is doing is reducing the value of the individual. Because, and Frank, you brought it up, this concept of giving away free, it's now got to a point where everyone is giving away all the intellectual property, everything that they're doing absolutely for free, that your challenge is that the consumer doesn't want to pay you for the quality of the information. And we've got to really consider how we package ourselves, because at the end of the day, we have to survive with the revenue, income, money coming in. And those are the things that people don't consider. So the two things that I want to focus on all the time is your value and how you get paid for what you do as a provider.
I'll put the link in the chat. Watch it. Please,
folks, I seem to be bouncing in and out a little bit on my link for some strange reason this morning. I don't understand why, but hopefully you were all still connected while I disappeared there for a moment.
Okay, wrap it up.
All right, can you all hear me?
Yeah,
I seem to be going in and out a bit, so apologies for that. But so I missed the last little bit, but hopefully it went on the recording. I'm not sure. We'll have to see. So, right, folks, thanks so much. Fantastic conversation again this morning, and yeah, again, a very special thank you to Laura and Frank for joining us for the first time this morning, and appreciate your inputs and your contributions. And same time tomorrow morning. So we're back here at. But we're back here at every weekday morning on the so-called South African version of Wisdom's Chats. We at this time. But as I say, tomorrow we have two additional Wisdom's Chats. One at 8 a.m. UK time, which is 2 hours later, and then one at GMT 2 p.m. time, which is Central Time, 8 a.m. American time. So, but the topics will be different for those talks, but they're the same format, the same style, and you're welcome to pop into those if they're more suitable from a time perspective for you guys. So that's Wednesdays. We have the 3 sessions. Other than that, every weekday we have this morning session, South African time. So yeah, it's a busy day for us tomorrow. But you're welcome to join any and all if you want to. So other than that, go out and find out about change. And I know Trevor just is interested in loose change, but we'll see how we go with the change discussion tomorrow. So look forward to that one. Have a great day further, folks, and see you then. And Laura, get some sleep.
Bye, everyone.
Good night, dear sages.